Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my second attempt, which my first attempt not too bad, but I'm going to try it again. So today I'm going to show you how to make a mini traveler's notebook out of just some fabric, some faux leather upholstery fabric, and this was initially a mailer card, and this here is one of my eco-dyed papers. And I'm not happy with this one because my cutting is terrible. Like it's crooked, as you can see. Like I've got this and then it goes out a little bit and I'm just not happy with it. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to do a different approach. So this is the fabric that I'm using. I went ahead and cut the pieces because believe me, you do not want to watch me cut because I am awful at it, just awful. Even with this board that I just bought for this purpose to make everything nice and even, and it came with a rotary cutter. It's still, you don't want to see it. So this is going to be our base for the mini notebook, the mini traveler's notebook. I got this in a pack from the Dollar Tree. So, for $1 you get like a pack of, I'm not really sure. This is like that craft foam. So very flexible and soft. I thought I'd use that instead of the plastic like coated mailer that I used in this first one here. And the size of this is 8.5 by 5.5. Actually, 8.5 by, yeah, that's about right. So it's approximately 8.5 by 5.5 inches. So I have cut my pieces already. So this is going to be the cover. And then this will be the inside of the cover. So that's one of my very first eco-dyed pages that I've done. And I'm sorry about the lighting. I'm not sure what's up with this thing, but I mean, it is evening. There's not very good light in here. So one thing I found out, I did use Mod Podge originally for this, and Mod Podge is no good for this at all. So the best thing that I found makes things stick really well is Fabri-Tac. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to glue my cover to this. So the way that I'm going to line this up is I'm going to get this lined up like as evenly as I can here. So I'm just standing and hovering over this thing and trying to get this as even as I can, and we'll just have to see how it turns out here. I mean, there is a lot of there's a lot of buckling here, but that'll be fixed once it's glued down. Let's see, so if I can line this up first, get it like as even as I possibly can. Okay, so I am going to leave this. I'm going to put a dictionary, a big heavy book over this, and just let this dry for a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the same process and glue the internal sheet, or the inside, like I have here. So I'll glue that on the same way that I did this. Actually, I could probably do that now. I don't think I have to wait for this to dry because this thing is really tacky. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll be back for the next step. Okay, so now it's been overnight. I've let this dry, and I've also trimmed it a little bit, trimmed the edges with my rotary trimmer, and I just took my metal ruler and just eyeballed it because the paper, as much as I spent, was careful and spent time trying to get the paper to line up to the foam, the craft foam, it was still off a little bit and it was a little bit crooked, and so I just went ahead and just trimmed the edges up, and I didn't lose a whole lot of real estate there, so I've trimmed off just a little bit, and it's still basically the same width and the same height, so it's still basically the 8.5 inches by I think that's 5.5 inches. So we're pretty much staying close to the original size. So now I'm going to just round the corners, and this is too thick for my corner rounder, so I've just taken a penny, and I don't know if you can see that or not because the light's pretty bright here. So as you can see, I've drawn a corner, and I've just taken a penny and just held it up to the edges, and then use that to trace and make that the guide for the corner. So I've done that on all 4 corners, and I'm just going to cut it manually. Okay, so I've got the corners cut. This is what it looks like right now. And let me move all this away. So the next thing I'm going to do is paint this, because I don't particularly care for this color, this shiny goldish color. I think it looks very fake, and I want it to look more natural, like real leather. So like this one here. So how I got to this from here is I have some fabric paint, and this is just something I found from the thrift store. So this is like spatter paint for t-shirts, sweatshirts, sneakers, it says, and it's by Tulip. So it is for fabric, and I'm just going to spread that out and make this darker. Just tapping on there like that. This is starting to now look like real leather. I really like the look of that. And I'm going to have to let this dry for at least a day. And it'll probably, like this one, it was still kind of tacky for a day, but once I put the varnish on, it's going to get rid of that tackiness. So I'll go ahead and let this dry. I think that looks pretty nice. So I'll just let this dry overnight, and I'll be back. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half since I've put the black paint on the top of this, and I can touch it. It's a little tacky, so I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next step while this dries out some more. And what I'm doing is just smoothing out the edge, because there's like some jagged, it feels a little bit jagged where I've trimmed the sides to straighten, out my like crookedness that I did. So how I'm just doing that is just taking an emery board and just lightly going across there to smooth this paper that goes on the inside of the cover So just lightly doing that, I can feel that it's smooth now. And I've went ahead and done most of this off camera here because it just takes a little bit of time. Doesn't take that much time. So anywhere that I feel some jaggedness there, I'm not going to be too rough with it. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is just kind of finish off the edges a little bit. So I'm going to take my stamp pad, and this is the sepia color, and a makeup brush again, and just go around the edges with this sepia. So I'm going to continue just going around the edges with this, and then just wait a little longer for the cover, this paint to dry, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, I've got my edges finished here, so while this is still tacky, still drying, I'm just going to go ahead and put a coat of varnish on the inside page. And what I have here is just some matte varnish. This is by Studio 71, so this is fairly inexpensive, and it'll just put a protective coating on this, so you know it's going to get a lot of wear and tear, and plus this is paper, so I want to make sure that it's protected and it's got like a nice coating over top. So I will just, let me shake this up. So this Liquitex makes a matte varnish. There are other brands. Just use whatever. I'm using the matte because I don't want a glossy cover, so a glossy inside. And I'm going to put 2 coats, so I'm going to let it dry in between coats. So I'm just going to quickly show you what I'm doing here. So I would just brush this on, just put a nice even layer, not too thick, not too thin. So it's kind of like a nice sort of plastic coating. It's starting to bow a little bit as it gets wet. So I'll have to fix that. I'll just have to flatten it out or something. I mean, when this dries, I'm gonna put the fold in there, fold this in half. I'm doing all this before I put the fold in. Alright, so there's my first coat of this matte varnish, and I'm going to let that dry and then put a second coat, and then I am going to do the same thing on this side. So I will put 2 coats of varnish, just using the same technique, and letting it dry in between the coats. And then once that's done and that's all dry, I'll be back for the next step. So we will be almost done. We're close. Okay, so now I have 3 coats of the matte varnish on the front of the cover, so I let it dry in between each coat. I have 2 coats of the acrylic matte varnish on the inside. I will say that when I applied the varnish to the inside, it did bow, the moisture caused it to kind of bow convex, I guess you would say, this way. And then when it was dry, I just kind of put it underneath a book to flatten it out. And I've already folded this in half. And let's see. If you can see right here, there's a crease where I attempted to fold that without any kind of stability. So I ended up having to, I took this and I measured the halfway point lengthwise. So this was what? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8.5 in length here, and so half of that is what, 4 1/4. So I put my ruler in between, like right in the center, at the 4 1/4 mark, and then just firmly held down the ruler with one hand while I took my other hand and then just folded it to get a straighter crease. So now I've got that nice fold there. I'm not too concerned about the crease. This, I know you can't see too well there. I'm not too concerned about that. Also, there was some bubbling when I put the varnish on this side of it, because it's paper and I didn't evenly distribute that Fabri-Tac. So there's a little bit of bubbling here. I don't mind that either, because it just kind of makes it more, I don't know, looks more leather-like and matches this here. So far I'm really liking it though. It's really neat. It's got a little bit of a flexibility to it. It looks like, to me, it looks like real leather. So we've went from this piece of fabric, that metallic gold sheen, to this more natural look just by adding some black fabric paint over top and adding that, coats of varnish to protect it. So now that I have this folded, and I did let this, while it was folding, I did again just put something heavy over top and let it sit overnight. And this still has a little bit of a stickiness to it, so you may, if yours ends up that way, you may need to put some wax paper in between your book and then the cover, just so that whatever it's sitting on doesn't stick. I don't know if the stickiness is going to go away. I'm going to have to figure out. There's just still a teeny bit of a tackiness to this, and I'm not sure if it's the paint or the varnish, if I need another coat of varnish or what I need to do. But I want to just continue on with this. So the next step is going to be putting the holes in for my elastics. And I'm just going to eyeball it. So we're going to put a center hole for the closure. And I'm just going to not measure exactly. I'm not too concerned about that being perfect. So I think I'm going to use this dictionary as a guide. So just open it up and then stick this in here in the center like this. Let's see if that works. I try to find more of the center. So we'll stick that there. Alright, so that's where my elastics are going to go. Hole in the center, and then 2 holes at the top, 2 holes at the bottom, kind of evenly spaced. And I'll just move this. And I already have my elastic cut, so I have measured just 4. So I've just counted 4 times. So this is 1, 2, 3, and about 4 links. And I don't know if I should do my closure first. I think I will do that. So I'm going to embellish this. Let's see if I can zoom you in a little bit more so that you can see a little better. Sometimes if I zoom you in too much, then it's too blurry. And I don't want to do that, so let's see if I can get you in a little bit closer. There. Alright, so what I just created an embellishment for the closure. And this is a necklace that I got from a thrift store. I just thought it was pretty neat because it's got starfish here, different starfish shapes. It's got shells and then fake pearls, and I just thought that was really neat. I knew that I would use these little, what do you call these? These necklace, not gems. What is the word for that? So anyway, what I've done is I have removed 3 of these. So I've removed 1 starfish from the necklace, and 1 small shell, and then 1 of the fake pearls by just, actually, the ring that's holding that onto the necklace was actually soft enough to where I could just take my fingers and just twist it open. So I just went ahead and did that and just twisted it open with my fingers. If it's too hard, if you've got a necklace that you wanted to use I'm sorry, I just can't think of the name. What do you call these? What do you call the gems? They're not gems. You know what I mean. If it's too hard to open with your fingers, then you can take 2 pliers. Just use your pliers and then just twist open like this at the opening of the ring here. So I've taken those 3 charms, that's what they're called. So I've taken the 3 charms and I have connected all 3 charms onto 1 ring. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so now I'm going to get this elastic through the small hole in the center, so that's going to be for my closure. So how I'm going to do that is I have a needle and some thread here. There's a knot at the end. So I have a needle, a small needle, and then some thread just threaded through the needle, and then I have a knot at the end. And I'm going to go ahead and from, let's try this. From the outside in, I'm going to put the needle through the hole and then pull the string, or the thread, but not all the way. And then I'm going to open up this loop. Alright, so we've got the loop open, and I am going to take my elastic. I'm going to put both ends of the elastic inside this string like this. So it's inside that loop, and then I'm going to pull the string on the other side here. And as I pull, that is going to hopefully pull those 2 elastics through the other side very carefully without breaking that string. See if we can get both of those through at the same time. Carefully. There we go. There we go. You might have to. Alright, so I'm just going to help it with my finger here. Alright, so I got those 2 through with the help of the needle and thread. Alright, so there is my closure, but I have to knot it. And let's see. We want it to be pretty tight, but not too tight. I think, let's just go ahead and knot this. I want some give to it, so I don't want to. Let's do a square knot. Come on. Alright, so I've got my square knot. Tighten that knot. Alright, so there. Pull that. You could burn the edges if you're worried about it coming unraveled. So there's my closure with my charms. So there is that. So the next step is to go ahead and pull the elastic through for the binding. So with the same method, if I can find my elastic, which is on the floor. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead from the inside out. So go ahead and put my thread, needle and thread through this hole, but not all the way through like last time. I know you probably can't see that too well. So I'm pulling the thread, but not all the way through the hole, and I'm opening up this loop here so that I can put the elastic in between the two pieces of thread so that it has something to hold on to. So as you can see, it's right in between the two pieces of thread, so that when I pull on the needle from the other side, it will pull that elastic through. So let me carefully pull that through, trying not to break that thread. Let me turn it around. I'm going to pull it. Alright, so there it went. It's pulled through. So I've got that end through. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave it on the thread, because now we're going to, from the outside in, well, we've still got the elastic hooked onto this thread here. I'll go from the outside in to that next hole. So the out. Just there, coaxing that through. So now I'm done with my needle and thread. Now you can see here's my closure with the charms. You can see that I've got a stitch at the top here, and I have a stitch at the bottom. And now we can just tie these together. And that's going to be for our binding. And it looks like I probably could have measured a length of 3 instead of 4, because I showed you in the beginning I just kind of took the elastic and counted 4 times the length, the height of the traveler's notebook or the cover. Alright, so but that's all right. So I'm going to go ahead and knot this. And I will do another square knot where it's, you know, over and under, and then the opposite way, like under and over. I guess that's what you call a square knot. And tighten that. I like traveler's notebooks because you could just put pages in and out. So I could keep that. I could keep the length of that, add some more charms or something. I mean, you could do that. But I'll probably just cut that off. So we've got, you know, 2 elastics for our papers. I think I'll cut it, but I'll leave some extra here. I could burn the ends just to make sure they don't ravel, and I'll do that off camera, just kind of light it up a little bit. So there is our mini traveler's notebook cover. Here is the closure. So we have a faux leather look and this really, really cute, pretty charm that I got from a necklace. And I will be definitely using this. Here's my inside with my eco-dyed paper. And I'm going to continue working on this. So the cover is finished. The structure is done, but I'm going to be adding some pockets. I'm going to be adding some paper. I'm probably going to be rusting some paper. I'm going to be eco-dyeing some paper to put in here. I want to put this in my purse and use it. So as I do this, as I continue working on this, I will record this for you guys. So next video will be an organizing video. I have my project that I'm going to do with something I found in the dumpster. It is a large piece, so it's going to take me a little while. My craft area is a disaster, and it is a very tiny spot. And I'm going to record what I'm going to do with that. So that's going to be my next thing, is an organizational video. I have a very small corner of my bedroom as my craft area, arts craft area, and where I record. And if you guys have like a really small spot, you don't have a lot of space, stay tuned for this because, I mean, I do kind of have it organized, but I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to be working on it some more. I've got a Dollar Tree haul coming up. Everything, just about everything, 99.9% of everything organizational wise is going to be from the Dollar Tree. And I'll give you a small tour of my really tiny corner. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate your guys' patience, and I hope that you guys like this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I hope you guys learned maybe some tricks here, and I will be back again soon. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye, guys.